Goldie RGG with a 1:21.5, almost half a second clear of the field. That was well for him in the race.
Yep. So looking forward to the race tonight. I obviously was watching the B1 account, and that went well. Obviously was watching. Anyway, I just got to change some of my settings, and we can get ready for the race tonight here in Australia. And here we go in preparation for tonight's race. Hopefully we also have good luck with the my Wi-Fi tonight, as sometimes it's not great. But anyway, that is the qualifying lineup there. Goldie, RGG, Philip Hogston, Zealand, Lord Elephant, Ruslan, Jesper, Woomaloo, Topics, Nikki, Jazzy, Skullface, and Klas Maneke, or Manike, racing tonight. The stream is up. Make sure to share it, and we can get ready for the race this evening. Just looking down the pit lane now, and obviously we are looking towards the start of the formation lap, where they will get their tyres up to the optimum temperature, not too hot, not too cold, and the same with the brakes for the run down into turn 1. Only 12 drivers this evening. Unfortunately, more are always welcome. Traction control is allowed in this league, which is why it is the League B section.
Yeah, so on this formation lap then, drivers just try as Goldie RGG goes onto the grass, sorry. The most important thing is keep it out of the wall. We see in the 3A, a couple of drivers not even making it to the end of the formation
race. There's a bit of crashing. That was also present last night in Bahrain. But anyway, they're coming towards the final sector now, and hopefully the man on pole won't have to wait too long for the rest of the grid to form up before the race starts, because that time just means his tyres and brakes can cool down, and that will be make him more likely to lock up into the first turn. And we want some clean racing tonight, because more crashes means less drives, and that means less on-track action. But anyway, coming Goldie, who has qualified on pole today in the Williams, coming through the final 2 turns towards the grid. The man at the back just coming towards the right-hander in his Red Bull. But anyway, this is the man about to arrive on pole right now.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned about the amount of time they held on the grid in the 3A season opener at Melbourne last week. It was a massive hold for the front row. They tugged onto that, and it was much shorter hold last night in Bahrain, so they definitely learned to go for a slower parade lap.
Yes, and currently he's been sitting on pole on his grid stop for 20 seconds, and the race is about to begin. We have the green flag, we have the red lights coming up now, and it's 5 red lights, and away we go. The McLaren getting a good start there, slightly behind Woomaloo in his Renault Woomaloo, obviously from League A1, as they go too wide in the first turn, and it looks like Zealand has gone wide onto the gravel trap, and the Lord Elephant is right up the grid there. Further down we can see a lot of battling, the McLaren battling its teammate, and the Renault trying to get past the Haas, but not quite close enough there. Lots of grid changes here. Haggis NT is dropping down, and the grid is kind of sitting up now as they go through the fast right-hander towards the next chicane. And there's yellow flags in Sector 1 and Sector 2. And that is Ferrari appearing to go quite slowly, but Goldie managing to hold on to his lead for the start of the lap. And Lord Elephant has made up 2 positions there, as Philip Hogston has moved down from 2nd to 3rd.
Sorry to cut across you there, Hugo, but yeah, the Sauber going from the very front of the grid right down the back. Horrible first corner for him, and also you mentioned the Ferrari. Yeah, Jazzy unfortunately is going down the back of the circuit without a front wing, so he's lost the entire front wing on that Ferrari. It'll be a nightmare to get back to the pits.
You can just see him understeering there, right onto the grass. A lot of dust coming up from that, but anyway, further down the grid is where the battles are happening. The 2 McLarens seem to be getting very close here. So right on board, they're side by side down the main straight. That's fast lap there from Goldie RGG, but they were only side by side. But you can see the Red Bull going down the inside of Nicky Sojborg as he breaks into the first turn, and he's managed to make the overtake there. Lovely overtake with the ERS and DRS available. And it looks like there is, further down the grid, the Sauber definitely braking way too heavily there and going right into the gravel trap. Unfortunately for him, that's the 2nd time in 2 laps he's ended up on the gravel.
Yeah, he's well and truly stuck down there as well. I can't quite see from this angle if he's got any damage, but so lucky to not have lost, well, the front wing or more at this stage. He's had 2 heavy trips through the gravel, and yeah, just needs to reel it in a bit and get back on with the job. His qualifying was decent, and unfortunately seems to have blown it on well, lap 1 of the race.
And there's just an overtake there as the Philip Hogston goes side by side with the Toro Rosso. Yeah, but I was riding on board with the Saubers. I didn't think he was going to brake too late, and he nearly smashed into some of the other cars. So that was a bit of a risky manoeuvre. And you can see the Renault trying to take a peek down the inside of the Haas, but it's just not quite close enough there. As there are more yellow flags in Sector 3, and Classe Manique has crashed out of the race. Not too sure where this incident has happened. Yeah, that is the Toro Rosso as we ride on board, and the Sauber goes into the barrier as well. Just oversteered too much for Zleeland, only lasting 3 laps there in his debut race. They're both not going to be too pleased with that, as you can see the Red Bull going down the inside of the McLaren just behind there, and getting it on the second part of the chicane. Sometimes going down the outside for the first part of that chicane is better, because then you can have the inside in the second part. As you can see the McLaren going to the outside of the Red Bull now. They're going to go side by side. It's going to be very, very close. Topics just not quite close enough, and Leland has left the session. Yeah, but there and there goes the Red Bull across the track. That was very dangerous. He appears to have sustained, some decent front wing damage. That not too bad though. Luckily he didn't crash himself or anyone else out of the race, which would have been very unfortunate. But you can see this is Wimlu, who's actually A1, racing tonight, maybe just to keep his racing skills in check. But you can see Nicky going down the inside of the McLaren rather, in towards the high speed chicane. They're going to be very close. There's yellow flags in Sector 3. Not too sure why that is.
Dropped it on the exact same corner that we've seen so many already.
So has Jazzy actually. The Ferrari also there. Jazzy retiring actually.
Yeah, so unfortunately we've lost 3 cars already in just the opening 3 laps. That certainly doesn't bode well. But if you finish the race now, you will get some points for it. And we just caught Skullface there going down the inside of Jesper Sojborg in the Haas. Lord Elephant setting the fastest lap with a 1:26.5. So yeah, I know from this game that the exit of that high-speed chicane is quite slippery, and it's easy to lose the rear end. And that's just been too much for our drivers tonight. And yeah, even in the 3A race last week, I think it caught out at least 3 drivers, so proving difficult in this season's Formula 1 game. Yes, and of course, that McLaren going slightly wide there, but not too bad. We've also been a couple of time penalties I just missed there. I believe one was a 5-second time penalty. Of course, the drive-throughs aren't actually served. The 5 seconds is just added to the end of the race time. But Goldie making up keeping his gap between himself and Lord Elephant relatively consistent. Yeah, so we've had 2 stops as well. The sort of planned stops at the end of lap 3, Topics and Haggis. Haggis, I think, was he the Red Bull that damaged the front wing, so that's the reason for that. But Topics, I didn't see any damage. I assume that's a scheduled stop very early.
Yes. Well, riding on board Woomlu here, he might have an opportunity with the DRS and the ERS on the main straight to try and take Rustland for the podium position. All the drivers have to do now, though, is finish the race to get some points from this Grand Prix. But will that be too much? With that exit being very, very slippery, and that is Skullface second the fastest lap with a 1:26.52 right there. And on the exit, Woomley gets such a better exit than the Toro Rosso Neg, and he takes him on the outside there through the second DRS zone. As the Toro Rosso goes down the inside and they bang tyres, and that's Woomley being hit in the back by the McLaren. Woomley sustaining some heavy front wing damage there. That was very unfortunate. Just didn't see the McLaren there, I don't think. Yes, the McLaren doesn't
really
appear to sustain any damage.
Rustland threw it up the inside. Contact was made in the initial move, and then unfortunately for Wimbley, Scoreface was sort of the wrong place at the wrong time. As you say, front wing damage on the Renault, and that's going to kill his race. But at least he's still running, but he's going to be well down the order.
Yes, will he be able to make it up there? That would be the question. Bit of a lock up there from one of the Mercedes. In front of Woomley, you can see the puff of smoke in the air, but Philip Hogston getting close to the back of Nicky Sorgeborg or Soyborg in the Sister McLaren. But Lord Elephant is definitely gaining time on Goldie RGG. Maybe Goldie making some kind of mistake, and we could see an overtake on the main straight as Goldie goes wide. Oh no, he goes into the pits. Don't worry. He may have had front wing damage actually. Goldie doesn't appear like there is any though. And Goldie receiving a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Just got to be very careful there not to go too fast because it's quite a slow pit lane here. I believe limit's only 37 miles per hour. Yes, that kind of speed as the pits are beginning to occur. As yeah, we are entering the pit phase, and that's Wimley receiving a 5-second time penalty there. Philip Hogston getting staying relatively consistent behind his teammate at about half a second, and that doesn't really seem to have changed. And it looks like Haggis and Wimley may be potentially staying till the end of the race as they've both pitted onto softs. Well, it looks like the other drivers are potentially going for a 2-stop. Goldie definitely as he's pitted onto the super softs, and so Skullface and Topics are on the ultra soft actually there, so they look to be doing a 2-stop, and that will be interesting to see how the orders turn out after that.
Yeah, so we've seen Philip Hogston have a little bit of a mistake through here already. He was one of the lucky ones who managed to keep it out of the wall, and he's now right up behind the back of his teammate Nicky in the Sister Mercedes, as they're both a little wide, getting towards the end of these ultra softs.
Yeah, so you get a nice helicopter shot here, but Skullface going trying to get down the inside of his teammate there, and the Red Bull nearly going into the back, just going a bit too fast. Philip Hogston pulling into the pits then, but the Red Bull getting very close to the McLaren. Nice helicopter shot here, shows just how close they are. That's the yellow flags in sector 3. And the McLaren Wimley has finished the race. Not sure where he crashed though. We'll probably catch that on the next lap, and Philip is in the pits.
That's going to be tight.
And he's going to come out, and they're going to be nearly 3 wide there actually into the first turn. Skullface has overtaken Topics there then, but Topics isn't too far behind, and Haggis isn't too far behind Philip. It's all very close here. The Red Bull maybe going down the outside. He's going to have the inside for the second part of the chicane as they bang front tyre to rear tyre, but it's not too bad. No damage there, just a bit of contact. Argy-bargy.
Yeah, it's a tricky little pit lane exit here, especially if you're coming out into traffic. We saw there that could have very easily ended the wrong way with the one of the cars coming out and pits and the 2 McLarens going into turn 1, as still is on the back of Hogston.
Yeah, the Red Bull just not managing to find their way past finishes in the race. As the Red Bull goes into the barrier. Talk about a commentator's curse. Oh dear. I feel slightly responsible for that. I feel like I jinxed that. We've only got 8 runners left in the race now. With
yeah, and your top four are still going on their original set of tyres then, so they're going deeper into the race than the likes of Goldie, who of course was your pole sitter, so it'll be interesting to see how the strategy plays out here. Is it possible to do a one-stop? I'd be surprised, but who knows?
We should see how long they can stretch their softs, although it doesn't look like they'll be able to last another 20-25 laps. So we'll have to see what they choose. Maybe there's a 3-stop strategy. Not too sure about that though. But Goldie up in the Mercedes, no, Williams getting very close to the back of the Mercedes there, going down the inside. They banged tyres on the entrance to the high-speed chicane, and he's taken him on the first part there.
Yeah, that was a very committed move. Just on the subject of a 3-stopper, the problem is with these 50% races, you just spend so much time in the pits. But also, as you say, pretty aggressive tyre choice here from Pirelli with the Ultra, Super and the Soft, so stretching it to a 1 will probably prove just too much. I think most of them will opt for a 2-stopper, but possibly with these 4 running longer, may get an extra stint on one of the softer compounds.
Yeah, very interesting words there from Fresi. And now, as you can see, we have 5 drivers out of the race, and just 8 running, and we're only on lap 9, 20 laps to go. So we shall see how many actually make it to the checkered flag. Obviously, the debut race, it's been a bit of a shaky start for most of the drivers, and not a very good turnout. So hopefully next time round we have a few more drivers, as for the next 2 weeks I will not be able to commentate the A1 league. But yes, not too much interesting stuff in the way of battles on track. The gap's just not close enough for any viable overtake to happen.
Yeah, the closest emerging battle we've got on the track is actually for the last 2 places. We've got Philip Hogston recovering from a spin early on and his first pit stop. He's catching topics. Both of these drivers, albeit down the back, have raced in the 3A races so far this season, as Lord Elephant picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so that may be a deciding factor in his battle with Goldie.
Yes, and the Philip Hogston is definitely within DRS range of the McLaren ahead, and we'll have to see how that plays out as we approach the main straight. We're going to ride on board just to get a good judge of the distance between the 2 drivers, which is very good. Obviously, Topics racing last night in a Force India had a bit of a collision with, I believe it was Rusland 000, but yeah, so that was a bit of an unfortunate collision that I missed. But anyway, the gap just half a second with a second DRS zone available. Only using the second ERS mode because he's very low on ERS, Philip, here, as he locks up heavily on the front left. But Rusland is also getting close to the back of Skullface, the other McLaren, so the McLarens could be receiving going down the order twice on this in the next few laps. We'll have to see how that happens.
Yeah, so everyone's now made a stop and settled down back into their proper positions, if you like. And as you say, a couple of battles starting to emerge. That's Philip Hogston now all over the back of Topics down the back straight. As you say, traffic pulling ahead. I believe that's the Haas of Jesper.
Not quite close enough there. The Mercedes trying to go around the outside. Just almost got forced into the barrier there actually by the McLaren. But he has a better, he has the DRS. He's got it up, the ERS up into mode 5, and they're going to be side by side into the next right-hander. And it looks like the Mercedes has just managed to pull ahead. No, they're still slightly side by side. There's a massive front left lock up there from the Mercedes, and that is an overtake there by Philip Hogston. But can the McLaren retake that position with the DRS? He's got ERS up high, but it doesn't look like the gap is short enough to produce any overtakes there. Skullface having an absolutely smashing start to the race though, up 8 positions, whereas Philip Hogston has moved down 4 positions since the start of the race, which was rather unfortunate for him.
What a move that was from Philip Hogston, so committed around the outside and at least twice through that, so close to getting tagged on the right rear, which would have almost certainly sent him round. But yeah, great move, as you say. That still means he's down 4 spaces from the start, but it's certainly recovering pretty well now.
Yeah, so now he's definitely extending the gap between himself and Topics. So that may have been an inevitable overtake. But anyway, we are continuing with the race. Lap 11 of 29. Definitely more action to be had.
Yeah, so next on the agenda would appear to be the Haas of Jesper catching the Toro Rosso of Rusland. As you say, Rusland last night in the 3A race had a DNF pretty early on. And he's going to have his mirrors full of grey Haas very soon. And that's my car for the 3A, so more than happy to see the Haas progressing well.
But the question is, will Philip Hogston be able to make up for the time to the Haas? It looks like he's going rather slow, but Topics pulls into the pits there. You may have just caught that in the background of the camera, not too sure, but we are following the Toro Rosso around the track. And Jesper is definitely catching up, slowly but surely, and we should see that action in a couple of laps' time. He can see him, from his perspective, just about a turn ahead, as Topics drop down into last on the order. But yeah, Jesper actually making up time rapidly here. He's up by about half a tenth since the start of the lap. I mean half a second since about the start of the lap. And you can see there in the background the Haas definitely looming closer and closer to Jesper. Skullface also up ahead in the distance in the McLaren, so that could evolve into a battle of whichever driver is faster and pulls through this battle first in first place.
Yeah, both these guys have only done 2 laps so far on this set of soft tyres, so there's no disparity there. It just appears that Jesper is more comfortable on this yellow wall tyre, and Skullface ahead has done 6 laps on a set of ultra soft, so I imagine he will be reeled in by these two sooner rather than later. And Philip Hogston's still closing in as well on a slightly older set of softs.
And that is if the pits pull him in before they can get to him anyway, which will mean that he will drop down the order to about Skullface will drop down to about 7th or 6th or 7th position, depending on how fast the pit stops are and how big a gap he can make to himself and that position. But also, sorry.
Yeah, sorry to cut across there. I think the average pit lane time, I may be way out here, but off the top of my head is about 18 seconds here. So that would put him around, as you say, Nicky in sort of 6th, maybe 7th place. Should be ahead of Topics fairly easily.
Rusland, although on relatively worn ultra softs, are still managing. No, scratch that. But Jesper and Rusland keeping a relatively consistent gap between them. It seems to be staying around the 2-second mark, which might be a bit frustrating for Jesper to try and make up that position, or gain that position actually. So you can see that Nicky Sojborg has moved up 2 positions since the start of the race, and Topics is the only driver to have done 2 stops so far in the race, which means he has a pit stop ahead of the rest of the grid. Maybe the undercut will work out for him, maybe it won't. We'll see. 3rd, 4th and 5th and 6th, their gaps seem to be staying around the 2-second-ish area, so maybe if those gaps can close down, we can see a bit of action. But Philip Hogston seems to be potentially making up time on the Haas ahead of him. So we've had 5 DNFs so far. Those have been Haggis, Woomaloo, Jazzy, Klasemanike and Zealand. A few of those just wearing too much and no match for the softs now, as the grip is overtaking the relatively faster tyres, but those tyres are very worn. Also, Philip Hogston closing down the gap rapidly to Jesper, so maybe Jesper slowing down a bit, not too sure what's happening there. But Philip Hogston nearly within a second of Jesper. You can see him just outside the DRS range, and Skullface pulls into the pits there talking about his worn tyres, and it looks like he will likely come out ahead of his teammate McLaren, but will he come out ahead of Nicky? We'll see as the race continues. Yes, definitely. Philip
Yeah, welcome out
Hogston.
ahead.
Sorry for cutting you off there, but Philip Hogston getting quite close to Jesper. Yeah, he comes out ahead of his team, his teammates McLaren, but he's also got quite a close gap to Nicky Sojborg in front of him. Now Philip Hogston is within DRS range, so when they get to that third DRS zone, there could be something happening now, maybe along the main straight. We'll have to see. He might want to regenerate his DRS for that moment, though.
His time, which will make it very close with his teammate Topics. And yeah, so unfortunately we've seen quite a few penalties, even in the first half of this race.
Speaking of the laps, yeah, we're past the halfway mark actually now, and the gap between Philip Hogston is almost under a second. Will he be close enough to get the DRS on the straight? The DRS trap, I believe, is around about here, and it looks like he might just be, yeah, he's just outside of DRS range. Now he's within DRS range, but just about 6 thousandths of a second out there, unluckily for him. He's going to have the toe, but they both use the same amount of ERS, and that's a bit of a corner cut there from Jesper. I just rode on board there, trying to gain increase the gap as much as he possibly can, but that is definitely going to be a warning, potentially. And now you can see the McLaren getting close to the back of Nicky Sojborg here, as he looks to the inside, maybe not quite close enough as he moves back in behind the McLaren, but having DRS on the second straight now, he's moved his ERS up into high mode, but this straight is a bit shorter and he's not going to find any room under the braking, but they're very close now, and no mistake, they can't afford to make any mistakes as we get a nice helicopter angle here, and they go through the fast right hand. There might be a bit of toe here. He's still got his ERS in high, and you can see the gap closing down quite a bit on the straights. The toe quite effective on this track. Oh, very close there, and the front wing of the McLaren gets very damaged, just braking a bit too late there and colliding with the back of Nicky. He might not be too happy with that. It is very unfortunate for that to happen to him though, and he will be disappointed as Goldie pulls into the pit, the race leader there, and Skullface will likely be pulling into the pits. Not sure. As he goes down the inside, even with his broken front wing, he's still managing to make the overtake. His tyres are almost brand new as well, Skullface's. Sorry to cut you off there. But, yeah, Skullface's tyres are almost brand new.
He doesn't have to pit. He's in the wall, so he's lost even more of the front wing now.
That is
left-hand side.
Very unfortunate there, as that is definitely going to be annoying, seeing as he's just pitted. He's not really going to have another decent opportunity to pit for at least another. Looks like these Supersofts could potentially make it to the end if he can really stretch them. There's a bit of a lock-up there from Philip Hogston. These three closing up very rapidly. The gap's getting quite close. Philip Hogston has Jesper in the Haas in his sights, but as predicted by Fretty, they have definitely closed up as Skullface has overtaken the other Mercedes yet again. The Mercedes looking to go down the inside. They're not side by side quite there, but Goldie very close to the back of Russland even after his pit, as Lord Elephant leads the rest of the pack by at least 10 seconds. And yeah, you can see Goldie getting very close to the back of the Toro Rosso. He's going to have the DRS, only using ERS in low, and he's going to have the slipstream. He pulls up next to them. Next to him, he's going to make the overtake before even the braking zone there, as Topics gets overtaken again by Nicky Sojborg, and he can see his other McLaren teammate filling up his rear wing mirrors. His wing mirrors, rather. And that is another battle we've yet to see. Now all the cars have been closed up after a few more pit stops. There, we're moving into the second pit stop phase. The strategic overtakes may happen as Skullface pulls into a pit for his inevitable front wing change. Will Topics be able to overtake Nicky Sojborg though? The McLaren and the Mercedes battling as he takes a peek down the inside, and that looks like they're nearly front wing damage there, nearly contact. Thought I saw a bit of the end plate fly off, but there may have just been sparks from the rear of the Nicky Sojborg's Mercedes. But yeah, very close there, and it looks like Topics may have the opportunity to overtake. Just got to keep it clean and tidy so he doesn't damage his car like Skullface. Just trying to keep the car tidy and neat. And that is the main objective, because while you're looking for the overtakes in the short term, you've also got to look after your car for the long term of the race. And yeah, we can see Philip Hogston though locking up the front left there quite massively into the final chicane. Very heavy braking zone there. That's one turn I almost always get wrong, but yeah, you can see him getting quite close to the Haas in front, but the Haas getting close to Rosland in the Toro Rosso. Rosland seemingly a bit slower than the other cars behind him, so this is potentially a fight for the podium positions as the race goes on. Goldie closing the gap to Lord Elephant as another front right lockup from Philip Hogston closes the gap. Jesper getting very close to the back of Rosland, and these three cars being led by the Toro Rosso are gonna produce some drama, I predict, in the next few laps. 10 laps to go here in Australia, and much more action, so stay tuned.
Yeah, another plenty of spares now in McLaren, because Topics has got front wing damage. Left hand, the whole of the top surface of that left hand wing has gone, and he's also a bit low on fuel according to that telemetry. So low on fuel, low on ERS, and unfortunately front wing damage. So it's all falling apart once again for McLaren, I'm afraid. Yeah, the McLaren's spending a lot of money on their front wings, unfortunately, today. So hopefully they might be able to pull something together next race, which is very unfortunate for them, as there's a front left lockup, and we could be potentially 3 wide into the first turn, as these 3 cars are very close to each other. DRS on the back 2 cars, and you can see from this cockpit camera, or what the driver can see as they takes a peek, trying to look for some room down the inside of Jesper, but Jesper also having DRS can defend that move quite well, as they have DRS again straight after the first chicane, taking another peek down the inside, but he's just too fast as they both lock up. These drivers getting very close. A bit of oversteer, it looked like there from Philip Hogston, and we can see, yeah, this gap is getting very close, and this is where the driving gets tense. They're going to have to be careful through that high speed chicane that's already claimed about 3 or 4 drivers this race. They've got to be wary, but also they've got to try and find the opportunities they can to overtake. Oh, double lockup there from Philip Hogston. The other 2 cars braking slightly earlier than he does, but he's got to watch the wear on those tyres, because he maybe he still has 1 more pit stop, but he needs to stretch those tyres. I believe he might have 1 more pit stop anyway, as Topics pulls into the pits to repair that front wing damage he received earlier. Yeah, it looks like he's got at least 1 more stop to go. The 2 McLaren drivers both on 3-stop strategies, or maybe not 3-stop strategies, but have ended up doing 3 stops, and there's another double lockup from Philip Hogston, and it's going to be the same order as it was at the last lap, as we ride on board with Philip Hogston, who's going to try and get the DRS in tow, but they're just not close enough. He's definitely gaining time there on Jesper, rather, and for the second straight there might be the same story. We'll have to see. But yeah, lap 21 of 20